My name is Swaini Crane. It's a 25-minute long conversation where we talk to some of the most fascinating people in Trinidad and Tobago. I have with me Dr. Satnarine Balkaransingh. He is the first person to graduate with a PhD in the Humanities Department of the University of Trinidad and Tobago. Dr. Balkaransingh's doctoral thesis formed the basis of his new book entitled The Shaping of a Culture, Rituals and Festivals in Trinidad, compared with selected counterparts in India from 1990 to 2014. It is a fascinating book that reveals that the Indian retentions in modern Trinidadian culture are all over. I was most fascinated with his findings as it relates to the greatest show on earth, Trinidad and Tobago Carnival. Dr. Balkaransingh, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure being here.
All right, so I attended your book launch last Friday at the University of Trinidad and Tobago, and you had a lot of fascinating things that you discussed. But I wanted to talk about you because I've discovered that you are a performer and you've always been a performer, a classical Indian dancer.
Yes, but much more than that. I started off being a pan man.
Oh, really?
Yes.
So you're the perfect person to discuss, to study culture.
Carnival.
Exactly.
So I was a performer. I'm now a dancer. I'm a musician. Right?
What's your instrument of choice?
Well, I teach music, but I play the tabla to accompany my students when I teach. But I'm not a performing artist in music.
Right, but you're a performing artist in dancing.
In dance.
Which is why you're the perfect person to discover that there's 16 types of wine to chutney.
Yes, once you start doing the research and you see and you document it, it becomes really very interesting, you know. But that is the mass, and that is the chutney, and that is who we identify ourselves as, that and much more.
So what made you focus on this particular area of research? Because your background, you actually came from, you worked in the public service,
yes.
Ministry of Foreign Affairs. You have a very...
No, not the Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
Oh, which one? Finance?
I worked many years in the Ministry of Planning, Ministry of Finance. But I worked in the Ministry of Housing, and then as a Deputy PS and PS acting, I worked in the Ministry of Culture, in the Ministry of Tourism, in the Ministry of Science, Technology and Tertiary Education. So I do have, a wide understanding.
But you were always a performer throughout.
Of the public service, but I have been a performer, a performing artist.
Right. So what made you decide to focus on looking at the Indian retentions in Trinidad culture?
I think I had enough of the public service, and I was doing research, and I also recognized that nobody else was doing this kind of research, and we needed to document, because the people who the keepers of the culture, the keepers of the traditions were dying, and somebody needed to document it. So I left the job and I went into the research, and then I was coerced into doing a PhD. And UTT, right, was willing to have me do it, and that's how I ended up.
So what are one of the things that spurred on your research? Like what are the sort of concerns, the cultural aspects or the information about the culture that you saw dying that concerned you?
One, we talk in Trinidad very much about our performative traditions,
right?
Our rituals and our festivals and culture. But when we talk culture in this place, we only talking about music and dance,
right?
Right? We are not looking at the sum total of what makes us who we are. Culture is a value system, is a philosophy to life, is an attitude. It deals with the creative, the performing, the plastic arts, the culinary arts, the literary arts. It deals with our heritage, built heritage, our planted heritage, all the trees and the flora and the fauna. All of that forms part. In other words, what's our attitude to savings? investment? What's our attitude to work? What's our attitude to God? What's our attitude to family?
Culture provides the key and the explanation for all of these
That comprises
attitudes.
our culture. And therefore, when you're looking at it, you have to look at it from a holistic perspective. And nobody was looking at it. The historians were doing their own thing, and the anthropologists were doing their own thing, and the social scientists were doing their, but nobody was bringing it together. And I felt that with my economics background, with my project management background, which I worked in the government service, I was an economist for more than 30 years, right, in the government service. And it wasn't happening, right? Even the economic issues, the gender issues associated with who we are, what makes us who we are, they were lacking as being put together as a, in one holistic whole. What is the IT input in all of this that makes it what it is? And therefore I thought I needed to deal with the rituals that are existing as a performative tradition. In other words, it is being performed over and over and over, so it becomes a tradition. And then how the rituals now form festivals. Where have they come from? Where is religion in all of this? Right? So I chose some of the major rituals and festivals that Indians brought from India to Trinidad, and how they are surviving here.
Right.
Right? How they have changed. What is responsible for the change? And to find out that, I looked at each ritual and festival that I chose to deal with from the form. What is the form of it? What is the format of it? What is the fate in that ritual or the festival? What is the festivity? Is there festivity? Is the festivity going? Is it still retained? What about the food?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, we like to eat.
And we associate food very much with certain festivals and certain holidays. So food is extremely important.
We're overeating now, and we suffered from all kinds of ailments.
Yeah.
So the food is important. So you're dealing with the food, then you're dealing with the music in the festival, the dance form or the movements in the festival.
That we just spoke about, we referenced the wine.
Right. And then how about the changing gender issues? There were some festivals that was male dominated, like for instance, Ram Leela. Initially, it's only males who performed it. But now there are females, equally females in the Ram Leela as there are males. So how has it changed the gender issues? And then there's some economic issues that we needed to deal with.
Well, let's talk about the economic issues, because one of the points that you made at your presentation last Friday, you compared Trinidad Carnival with Carnival in Goa. You went to Goa in India, and you said that Goa receives 4 million tourists a year, 1 million for Carnival alone. And well, our statistics in Trinidad are
less than 100,000.
But they're also insufficient. So you can't even be sure if that's correct.
You don't know if it's 70,000, you don't know if it's 100,000, you don't know how many are returning residents, how many are tourists.
So clearly we need to be looking at Goa, how to market our carnival properly, correct?
We certainly need to look at other countries that have carnival and have Trinidad style carnival.
Yeah.
Because we have spawned more than 80 Trinidad style carnivals all over the world. And they're doing good. Why are we not doing good? Are we shortchanging ourselves? Are we pumping money into a festival that should have been giving us significant returns to investment?
So let's talk
and are
about
we not doing it?
Let's talk about the similarities between
Yeah.
Carnival in Goa and Carnival in Trinidad. Well, you also mentioned Shivratri. So what you saw in Carnival in Goa were elements of Trinidad Carnival and retentions of the Shivratri festival that we do have here as well, right? Or am I misunderstanding?
Maybe I should backtrack a bit.
Yes.
My book has 9 chapters, right? It's Ram Leela, Diwali, Christmas, Carnival, Shivratri, Holi or Phagwa, right? Then there is a chapter on Huse, right?
All are very major in Trinidad and Tobago.
Yes, it is. As I say, I chose some major rituals and festivals. Huse is not a festival. It's a commemoration. It's an observance.
Yeah.
And then I took the prayer flag, right? The Jandi. And I looked at it. I did the research on it. I looked at the...
And Professor Samaru hailed your research on the Jandi as some of the most thorough and comprehensive that he has ever seen. So, if anybody's watching or interested, you really need to pick up Dr. Balkaran's book, especially if you're very much interested in Indian culture, in the modern Caribbean, and in Trinidad and Tobago in particular. So that's how good the research is in the book. But I do want to focus on Carnival.
I just thought I would put it in perspective.
Right.
So when we talk about Carnival and Shivratri, these are chapters in the book, and I try linking them, seeing the similarities, the dissimilarities, and arriving at conclusions and recommendations. And that's how we talk about Carnival and Shivratri, because they are both fertility rituals.
Right.
They are both spring festivals. Yes, we don't have spring here, but we do have the seasons, right? And you have the moving from one season into another, the leaving of one and merging into another. So we do have those seasons, right? And Shivratri, they are Saturnalia festivals.
What does that mean?
Sun, dealing with the sun.
Right.
Dealing with the earth, moving from Tropic of Cancer to Capricorn, back to Cancer, right? So they are Saturnalian, how the sun moves, right? How the earth moves around the sun, actually, in this case. And when you look at the fertility rituals, Carnival is really a pagan, and pagan here means folk. We use terms and we allude a kind of baggage to it that make it sound bad.
Right.
It sounds bad, but pagan really means folk. So it is a folk festival, right? And of course, the Roman Catholic Church had to incorporate it into in the church teachings, so, like they had to incorporate Christmas.
Right, because I remember talking to you about one of the comments that you made. You got your daughter Plavi to read a paragraph or two about
on a carnival
and chaos
and its relationship with Shivratri.
Right.
But there's chaos and regeneration.
Chaos and regeneration. I really, really like that, because I had always assumed that, one of the reasons why Carnival is how it is, the Bacchanal, the freeing up and all of that, is the association with the Roman Catholic link, that it's a pre-Lenten festival. So you're indulging in all the naughtiness that you're going to have to give up for at least 40 days. It's interesting to hear that there are also other channels for the reason why we feel so free, or, we have license to be so free, and the East Indian influence on that sort of behavior.
As from Shivratri. Now, the interesting thing is the presiding.
Can we define Shivratri a little bit?
Yeah. Shiva is called Mahadev, the great god. Shiva is also called Nataraj, Lord of the dance, right? But when we talk about the dance, we are talking about the dance of creation, the dance of preservation and the dance of dissolution, annihilation. Right? So it is the dance of life. We create, we preserve, we give hope, right? So therefore, all of that, but in that process, there is destruction, annihilation. But that destruction really is for recreation, regeneration. So it is not necessarily bad.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you don't have destruction, you can't have recreation.
And I think that's why Carnival for a lot of people seems very healing. You have to go through this process to cope with whatever stress you have in your daily life, because people always talk about Carnival as being a very necessary release of the negativity. And then when you after Carnival, you emerge renewed.
You again, because what it initially was, when you think in terms of the presiding deity of Carnival, it's come from the Egyptian goddess Isis, and then the Greco-Roman goddess Dionysus, right, who incidentally was androgynous, male and female,
Right.
And then Bacchus, the Roman god, Bacchanalia.
Bacchanal.
But Shiva, who presides over Shivaratri, the night of Shiva, right? The creation is also androgynous. So when you look at it, the similarities are very, very close. Even praying to the Shiva Lingam, right? Many of us are not aware the Shiva Lingam, that image that you pray to, is an image of creativity. It is actually the penis inserted in the yoni, 2/3.
Right.
Right? Now, it represents creation. In other words, if you don't have male and female, there can be
No life.
no life. You look at the plug. Unless you plug the male socket into the female socket, energy does not flow.
So what is it you would like the average Trinidadian to know about Carnival and about how our East Indian ancestors have influenced the modern Trinidad and Tobago Carnival?
One, how many Indians have gone into the mass, right? In terms of the mask and the masking process.
Yeah.
Right? In old time mass, so they're jab, Indian, while Indian,
Yeah.
they were in the stick fight because they brought Gatka into the calendar.
Yes.
Right? So you have that aspect of it. Then they started into designs. They got into the design. Minshall, starting in the 80s.
Yeah.
He had a lot of incorporation of Indian things into his mass, right? In the river, right? He had white costumes. And then on the second day, those costumes were sprayed with abir.
Yeah.
Right? So you brought the Phagwa into the mass. Right? In 1995, hallelujah, right, which I choreographed. I was one of the choreographers for him on the stage presentation. It was to life. On the masks, on the heads, there was an image of Shiva, Lord of the dance, but it was the dance of, again, creation, preservation, dissolution. Many people didn't know, they didn't understand it.
Right.
Right?
But there's a basis that you can treat if you understand the movement and
If
the
you
symbols.
understand the philosophy,
Right.
right? The philosophy would tell you, would determine how you think, and then what you do, how you translate your philosophy into your festivity. So you had that. And then tapestry, there was more Indian influence. There were Indian choreographers doing it. Then Legacy has had Indian choreographers.
Yeah.
And of course, Brian McFarlane has brought in Indian choreographers. Boise
Yes, the Legend of Boise, I think.
Going back to India.
Return to India. That
So
king, I remember that
the
king used to
Indian
be, was very gorgeous.
influence has been significant in the Carnival. It hasn't been less significant in the Calypso.
Right.
Because they use Indian themes, King Fighter and Indrani, and then Om Shanti Om, right?
It forms the basis of soca.
Right? And Shorty, I have referred to it, Ras Shorty. I said this thing called soca, right, and chutney can't be right. Soca is really calypso, right, and soul, but it's the Indian rhythms in the calypso that he named soca. Today, it's different.
Really quickly, how do you think about chutney? What do you think about chutney?
Chutney means chatak, means spicy. That's what it is. So it is a spicy concoction. It has its place, right? Where it has come from, its genesis, right? It has come from folk music. It's come from ritual, birth of babies, the chathi, the 6th day of the birth of the baby, the 12th day. It has come from wedding rituals. So there were songs that were sung for these rituals. What we have done now is we have taken them out and we have brought them into the proscenium stage. That's what we have done.
Okay.
What also we have done is we don't know how to compose. So we buy lyrics from people who don't know how to compose.
Right.
So they are pedestrian. They're really nonsensical.
So you think chutney artists need to, I guess, place
in
more
terms of
value
lyrics,
of
they're
the
way behind the Calypsonians in their lyrics. And in terms of the music, a lot of the music has been plagiarized, and we all know that. They come from Bollywood music, they come from bhajan, songs of praise to God, right? If you want to create an art form that's going to be lasting, that's going to identify you as who you are, right? And others to determine who you are by identifying you, you must create something that is of quality.
So we are almost out of time.
Oh my God.
But I wanted to talk about your book. I wanted to let people know, where can we get it?
All the bookstores in the country.
Oh, fantastic.
They are already there. So UV Bookstore, Paper Base at Normandy, Nigel Khan, RIK, you name it, they're there. It has been put, it has been,
And how do you feel having been able to put your thesis, in a book form? Because this is your first book, isn't it?
No, it isn't.
It isn't?
No, I have been writing chapters in other books on various things.
Right.
On music, on dance, on economics, on my first book is called Kunuwatan. It is rituals and festivals of the Santa Rosa Carib community.
Okay, so
it deals with their rituals, their festivals, their food, and I used a chef, Jasi Singh, who went and did all the foods into it. So there are recipes there, but also it is their healing potions, their medicinal herbs.
So it's a very comprehensive book.
Kunuwatan
peoples.
Is significant,
right?
In terms of our first peoples,
right?
What we were not a country or a society after Columbus encountered this country.
We were always here, and we always had
there was
rituals.
A civilization, right? And that is in Kunuwatan. You can read.
We will definitely put up that information. Thank you so much, Dr. Balkaransingh. This has been a fascinating conversation.
My pleasure.
I think we might have to do it again soon. Thank you so much for
joining me.
Nice being here.